learn English easily. Jake and the Sunnybrook shelter. Jake, with his twinkling eyes and a laugh that could fill a room, was a beacon of joy. Born in the beautiful town of Cloverville, with its cobblestone streets and small, cozy houses, he had an infectious spirit that drew people to him. Yet, the setting of his earliest memories was the expansive sunny shelter home. This building, with its tall, red bricks and large wooden doors, was always buzzing with activity. The echoing hallways were filled with the laughter and chatter of children, their stories of pain and happiness intertwined. The walls bore witness to countless tales, tearful goodbyes, and jubilant reunions. Before the shelter, Jake had a different life. His parents, Sarah and Michael, were beloved figures in Cloverville. Sarah was a schoolteacher, her patience and kindness shaping the minds of young children, while Michael managed the town's only bookstore, a haven for those seeking knowledge or a quiet place. They were young, vibrant, and deeply in love, building a life full of promise for their newborn son. Tragically, one fateful evening, as they were returning from a trip to the neighboring town, their car was caught in a fierce storm. The rain-slicked roads made for dangerous driving, and in a heart-wrenching twist of fate, they met with a severe accident. Both Sarah and Michael didn't survive. Little Jake, safely at his aunt's that night, was spared the accident's direct impact. However, the aftermath meant he lost the warm embrace of his parents forever. With no immediate family able to care for him long-term, Jake found his way to sunny shelter home. There, amid the sea of children, with stories like his, Jake began his journey of seeking love, understanding, and a place to call home. Jake's home number 1. The Browns. The Browns lived in a grand Victorian house, with tall windows and ivy-covered walls. They had a big dog, named Max. Jake loved Max. The garden became their playground, where they chased butterflies and played fetch. Mrs. Brown, a plump lady with rosy cheeks, bakes every Saturday. The house was always filled with the scent of her famous chocolate cakes or berry pies. On these days, Jake felt the warmth of a home. However, Mr. Brown was a tall, stern man. A retired military officer, he valued discipline above all else. Every time Jake left his toys around or laughed too loudly, Mr. Brown's voice boomed in disapproval. Nights were often silent, and the house, though beautiful, felt cold. After 12 months of trying to fit into Mr. Brown's strict rules, Jake found himself back at sunny shelter. Home number 2. The Garcias. The Garcia residence was the opposite. A small, vibrant home painted in yellows, blues, and reds. Every evening was a celebration. Mr. Garcia strummed the guitar, filling the house with melodies, while Mrs. Garcia danced with Jake, teaching him salsa and tango. Jake cherished the nights when they would sit on the porch, looking at the stars and sharing stories. But after 18 joyful months, the Garcias had to move to Spain for work. Jake hugged them tightly, promising to remember their songs and dances. Home number 3. The Wilsons. With the Wilsons, Jake tasted sibling rivalry. Lily and Tom, both around Jake's age, had mixed feelings about this new member. They played pirates, built forts, and even went on family camping trips. But there were times when sibling love was replaced by envy and teasing. "You don't have real parents," became a frequent taunt. Jake trying to find his ground in this new family dynamic. Once lost his temper, and a physical fight ensued with Tom. Though the Wilsons tried to mediate, the harmony was disrupted, leading Jake back to Sunny Shelter. Home number 4. The Patels. The Patels had a bustling household, with grandparents, uncles, aunts, and kids running around. Their home was always alive. Grandpa Patel, with his snow-white beard, narrated tales of ancient India, of kings and queens, of magic and love. Mrs. Patel's kitchen was a wonderland of spices, where Jake tried dishes he had never even heard of. Yet, in the crowd, Jake sometimes felt invisible. Everyone was engrossed in their world, and he yearned for a personal connection. After a whirlwind 8 months, he found himself back, with familiar faces at Sunny Shelter. Home number 5. The Martins. The Martins lived in a cottage, surrounded by woods. Mr. Martin, with his glasses always on the tip of his nose, was a history teacher. Their home was a library. Mrs. Martin, an artist, had her paintings adorning every wall. They took Jake on adventures, from museums to historical sites. Under their care, Jake's love for art and history blossomed. But happiness was short-lived. Mrs. Martin was diagnosed with a severe illness. The vibrant house became quiet. The paintbrushes remained untouched, and books gathered dust. Mr. Martin, grappling with his wife's sickness, felt Jake would be better off at Sunny Shelter. This time, when Jake returned to Sunny Shelter home, at the age of 13, he felt weary. But the universe had another plan. The Smiths lived in a small house. It wasn't big or fancy. There weren't many people or loud activities happening. But they were kind and gentle. They really listened when Jake talked. They wanted to know about his life and his feelings. They did simple, fun things together. They had picnics in the park. They walked on nature trails. They ate dinners where everyone shared stories and laughed. With the Smiths, Jake felt special. He didn't just stay in one place. He had a real family who cared about him. They made sure he felt safe and happy. After going to so many places, Jake knew he was finally home with the Smiths.
Thanks for watching. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe for more.